West Midlands Police are considering issuing spit guards to protect their officers from attack. The Police Federation say hundreds of officers in the region have been spat on in the last year. In February, 2 officers spoke to MPs in Parliament about their experiences. Previous requests for spit guards have been rejected by the force. Giles Latcham reports.
That's 4 times.
She counted them, a prisoner showering a police constable with 25 mouthfuls of saliva.
It's all on camera, Zach.
In the back of an ambulance, there's no room to dodge it, and officers say it's happening more and more.
He's looked me in the eye, spat directly at my face, which has instantly gone into my left eye and in my mouth.
I think I would rather if he had punched me straight in the face rather than being spat on. It's completely degrading. And then the fears that come with that.
The fears of infection. Last year, a Ukrainian policewoman, Irina Koltsova, died after being spat on by a suspect with tuberculosis. So is this the answer? A spit hood, or guard, as the police prefer to call it, placed over a suspect's head. Over a third of UK police forces already use them, including Staffordshire, West Mercia and Warwickshire. They're now being considered for use in Gloucestershire and the West Midlands. Critics say they're degrading and humiliating. But what's the view on the street?
We don't want them being used wrongly also. I just want to put that over someone's head to tell them, oh yeah, just be quiet, and they're not really spitting. Sometimes people abuse their authority also, so long as we're using it in the right manner.
I don't think you should put it on all the time, just only if you feel that something is going to go wrong.
Good way to probably protect the police, but a little bit extreme.
A bit inhumane, but then again the police officers have a job to do, and working for the public should be put up to such disgusting behaviour by being spat on.
We owe you, the police, an incredible debt for the...
At the Police Federation conference in Birmingham, the Home Secretary backed the use of the hoods, which have been used nationwide at least 2,500 times over the past 5 years.
I think we need to realise and understand that our officers are part of the communities themselves, and they just want to do the best for the communities, and they just want the protection to do that for them.
For some, a step too far. For others, a sad necessity in modern policing. Giles Latcham, BBC Midlands Today.
Well, the Independent Custody Visitors Association works to promote best practice for people held by the police. Katie Kempen is its chief executive and she joins me now. Good evening. What's the association's view of these spit guards?
Well, here at the Independent Custody Visiting Association, we work with police day in, day out, and we see the good work that they do. We of course think that they should have appropriate protection, but we've got some genuine concerns about the use of spit guards. We're worried about the lack of national research, policy, training and process. We're also quite worried about the use of them on vulnerable detainees. And finally, we think that there needs to be a full and open public consultation before they're rolled out.
But how are officers supposed to protect themselves from being spat on? One officer in that report said he'd rather be punched than spat on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have real sympathy for the police in this instance. However, we think that it also needs to be balanced against the need of vulnerable detainees. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a vulnerable person who may be in mental health crisis, they may have been detained and restrained by the police and then have a hood put over their head. You can well imagine that this will add to their distress. We're also concerned that it could get in the way of their breathing. And we don't think it's right that police should be asked to use a tactic like this until they can be sure it's safe, both for them and for the detainee. I think the last thing a police officer would want is to use some equipment which is unsafe for the detainee.
They are already being used by around 17 forces, so presumably they are being seen as effective. I will ask you again, what's the alternative?
Well, I think actually that inconsistency of use does bother us. There are 2 central tenets of policing at the moment. One of them is evidence-based policing. We know that the National Police Chiefs Council are researching spit hoods. We know that there are 4 in use at the moment, and we're waiting to see what medical research comes back to see that they're safe. We're also waiting for the results of the pilots. So let's use that evidence to understand why some police forces use spit hoods and some don't, and get the best practice out there.
Katie Kempen, we must leave it there. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
A man has appeared in court